the signs you get with your head are very different to the signs that you get from your heart. So if we're not practiced in paying attention to the meaning making that comes when we're from a heart-centered place, then we think we're not getting signs, but they're there. We just haven't learned them yet, like a new language.
Hi there, and welcome to Messages from the Body, where Rebel Black is guided by myself, Kelly Vanyai, to channel messages from her body that help us to have shifts and awareness that improve our life. We often talk about topics of a sensitive nature, so if you do happen to find yourself feeling triggered, we've included a list of helpful numbers for you below. But for now, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Messages from the Body. And in a moment, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to come back into the room wide awake, fully refreshed, remembering all the key points from the channeling so that we can have a conversation about it. Bringing back that wisdom into the conscious mind, bringing it up now. 1, wiggling your toes and your fingers. 2, giving your shoulders a bit of a shake. And 3, opening your eyes, coming back into the room. Good stuff. Welcome back.
Hello.
Yes, details. Paying attention to the details.
The small stuff. I do wonder if there are people that do that in the extreme as well, that need to find, another edge, but perhaps there's even a message that perhaps even those people who normally pay attention to the details aren't at the moment to the degree that they need to.
Yeah, I'm going through a bit of a shift in my life. And so everything you were saying is very relevant because I keep getting told I've moved from my head to my heart and I'm not paying attention to the signs. And I'm like, I haven't seen any. I would normally see them if I could see them, but they're not there. And so I took that as an opportunity to come back, recenter myself and start to pay attention to the subtle energies going on. And so as you were talking, I could really feel how that is something that's relevant in my life. So perhaps it is for other people as well.
Yeah. Well, I think I've been, playing with songwriting, and one of the songs that came through a few weeks ago that hasn't quite fully landed yet was this memory of being with a great aunt. Well, she wasn't a biological aunt, but a lady we called aunt. I was about 10 and she offered to read my palm, and she told me that I would always follow my head, but I needed to come back to my heart. And so from a young age, that's been something that I've been aware of and conscious of, and definitely the head has ruled at many times, but I've had that strategy, was embedded with that wisdom very young and believed it. I believed her fully and wholeheartedly. So it didn't make sense to me at 10. Like, what does that mean? But it stayed with me. And so I think maybe there is a shift coming through, that it's like, that's not just advice for me now, it's advice for others, because that was the very first, after I'd written a couple of songs, I was like, okay, and, I was at I was in a traditional women's space, and that aunt just came through so strongly, and it was Lifelines. Like the name of the song is Lifelines, and it's this drawing of, and that message of being told that through all the old wise women in my life. So yeah, it feels like there's a palpable energy around that moving out of the head and into the heart. And it's new signs from that place. The signs you get with your head are very different to the signs that you get from your heart. So if we're not practiced in paying attention to the meaning making that comes when we're from a heart-centered place, then we think we're not getting signs, but they're there. We just haven't learned them yet, like a new language.
So as a coach, and I'm sure you've helped many people distinguish these sorts of signs in their life or connect with the part of them that can hear them better, what are some of the things that might be common experiences for people? What would you normally tell a person?
Well, to me, someone will show their hand in terms of where they're most living or operating from by their language. So if they say things like, I think, then we know that if someone will use the word think in a sentence 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 times to me when they're telling me some story, then I know where they're coming from. It's coming from their head. And so it's inviting them to switch out that word to use feel, to really just reconnect to feelings or emotions, and so it's just inviting them to reframe. Oh, could you say that again? But how would you feel? What would feeling say if it was to say that? Okay, well, that's what your head said. So what would your heart say? Or tell me what your knee would say about that. Like it's finding people. I really feel that sense of disembodiment. If we're really, because the brain, the mind codes us, but the body takes over. And there's, in Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, he talks a lot about that. The body becomes the mind. And we're trying to solve problems and fix things from our head. But the body actually is keeping most of the knowledge by now. Anything that's habituated is in the body, in the physical form. And so we've got to re-embody ourselves. So even if we can't connect to our heart, so we've got to remember the physical form and the role that it plays as a whole human in our great life, in the great work, which is our great life.
So what would you recommend people do to get reconnected in that way?
Oh, like enter into a conversation, sound like a crazy person, talk to your body. Like we do in this.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Let's have a conversation with the back of my thigh,
And so much great stuff came through, like your back of your thigh really knew what it was talking about.
Yeah. So I think it's like it's re-entering, and it's just remembering. It's like, oh, hello, shoulders, find a practice. Exercise is perfect, walk, move, find some sort of movement practice that you really like, but don't do it just because your head says to, or you think you should. Do it as a practice to embody, to be in the body and to be in connection and conversation. And instead of trying to get rid of pain, enter into a conversation with it. Start a dialogue with the pain in your wherever it is. Use it as a part of your quest for deeper understanding of yourself, and eventually you'll find your way back to your organs. It's just easier to start with the appendages we can see and feel and actually touch on the outside. And the breath, always the breath, it gives us life, it keeps us alive, and it's a beautiful way of recentering into our physical form and really connecting us to the movement that exists, in the subtle movements that can exist in our body, and also just how much influence we have over our physical sensations when we tune into them. People are like, oh, it's just my body and I've got no control over it at all. And control is an illusion, but we definitely have an influence. There's a definite possibility of influence. That's one of the things I love with the energy readings and healings and the forensic healing that I do, when I'm really helping people connect to where is that in your body. And then by the end of the session, when they've done really nothing other than kind of explore and get creative, like, oh, that feeling has gone, or it's not there, now it's somewhere else. Like, oh, how did you do that? Now you're feeling it somewhere else in your body, which means you have influence over that even when you're not paying attention to it. So it's a very empowering thing.
Super empowering, especially if people that you're working with are getting the insights from their body and they can shift pain just from connecting to it. I imagine that people feel really empowered from that.
Yeah, it's a definite like a reclamation of something that we've been taught was someone else's responsibility or was beyond our control, because that's what our indoctrinated system of the medical system is outside of us. Your body needs the medical system, etc., etc. The body has extraordinary capacity for healing itself and regenerating, and for you as a conscious, to have consciousness and awareness of that, to be able to influence that as well. And there's so many stories of spontaneous remissions and spontaneous healings and all those sorts of things that are now and, even the thing like the placebo effect, so well studied, it has scientific validity. It's not just a bunch of kooks now that are like, yeah, actually I healed myself. There's so much research and science that backs that up now, that it's really undeniable.
Do you see this as a way that one of the ways that they can sort of gain their power back if they're feeling a little bit powerless?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's total power. And it's not to say I don't want to other science or the value of medicine or modern medical practices or any of those things, because they're really important. They're a really important function. They play an important function in our operating ecosystem, but they are best used from a place of 100% self-responsibility and the understanding that you have the power also to heal, and that the medical system, whatever pathway you might take, becomes a player in that, not the responsible one for that. And it sounds subtle, but it's a massive shift. It says, yeah, okay, I'm entering into this challenging situation, with a physical condition of some kind, and I'm going to dance with the medical system because that feels like the most aligned way for me. But I'm not doing it because I believe that they are the only way for me to heal. I believe they are a tool, a resource in my healing journey, in my power, that I am fully responsible for. And I think when you go to those places from that place, then only healing can come, or it significantly increases the chances of that.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, from a doctor's own mouth, you will hear like a surgeon will maybe take out the problem, like fix a problem. Maybe you broke a bone and it needed to be pinned up or something like that. But then you're told to go away and it'll take 6 to 8 weeks for that part of your body to heal. And so it's you that goes away and does the healing. They do something that creates an environment where your body can heal. When we really realize the power of the healing is within us, then it does shift the balance of where the power is in that and whose responsibility it is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's, agency within a very complex system, but doesn't mean we have to make it wrong or, it's like we don't need that sort of energy. There's so many brilliant current practices that add enormous value and save people's lives and give them longevity and all of those sorts of things. And I don't know why we're really focusing on this, but I do remember from the channeling that it was hard to even describe what I was seeing, but it was definitely like I was seeing like alarm bells. It's like the niggles in your body, pay attention to them. Like I just had to say that because there's this, and so I want people to understand their bodies are talking to them and they need to pay attention, and then from a place of full responsibility, go get their help.
Yes.
Not think you've got to do it on your own. That's not what self-responsibility is. Self-responsibility is, okay, I'm taking responsibility for my healing and I'm going to go get the resourcing and support that is required, that feels the most aligned to me.
And before it becomes a problem, potentially, is what I took from that too.
And it's totally, that's what people do is like, and I think I've written about this before in my blog. It's, why do people wait for the cliff before they take action? And I think it's speaking to the same wisdom that is like, get the thing checked, go ask for opinions. If you're not satisfied with the first one, go again. It's like, don't give up at the first hurdle in wanting to get answers, which so often we do because it's complex and the systems are not necessarily always user friendly and blah, blah, all the reasons. But I think this is the heed, it's like, don't wait for the cliff, pay attention to the subtle signs and do the work until it's done. Like, be committed, so committed that you follow every pathway, go down every possible avenue, channel, whatever, to get the redress, to reclaim, well-being, whatever it is for you. And this applies in all areas of your life: financial, relationships, in your careers, contributions to community, businesses. the message is the same. There just seemed to be a very medical bent this time.
Well, I mean, I guess that's true. It doesn't matter where it is that we become proactive. If we give ourselves a chance to actually stop, sit, listen, then we might be able to see where we can make subtle changes now that end up avoiding a big problem or taking us down a path of great success.
I think, one of our team members, Shane, always says, slow down to speed up. And that is also really resonating, to say, like, sometimes you just got to breathe, and pay attention before you move to the next thing, and ask lots of questions, which I know we talk about all the time. It's like the quality of the questions is so important. And to go into those systems, wherever they are, whether you're going in negotiations with government, whether it's with enterprises, whether it's in the medical system, is go equipped with your own questions. Don't expect them to give you the answers if you haven't got great questions, and don't leave that office until you understand yourself. I think we've just assumed people will give us all of the information, and that's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility to ask for it and be empowered to do that.
In terms then of focusing more on maybe someone's business or a thought they have about which direction they need to go in life, moving away from the idea of just being a physical thing, what are some of the things that do help a person have clarity around situations? What are some of the techniques you do yourself to have something drop in, for instance?
Well, given that I'm a big picture person, and attention to detail is a skill that I continue to try and master every day. There is no try that I practice mastering every day. It's, creating checklists for yourself around the questions that you need to ask when you go into particular places. It's like going to the meeting with questions already formulated. It's equipping yourself with, the understanding or the knowledge of whatever it is that you're entering into. So, for example, if you're going into a new business relationship or dealing, then understand, contractual obligations, get advice, build a team of people around you that are going to help you, hold you accountable, or get you ask the questions, or give you the questions that you need to ask before you decide and make decisions. Again, I think same from the channeling, like using your past mistakes as leverage for your future successes, to say, oh, well, I did that thing and it sucked and I was really bad at it and all the details got missed, or, it's like, great, debrief that. Go into the minutiae of it. What happened? Who did what? What was said? What wasn't said? What were the clues? Where did you go wrong? What would you have done differently? And make notes on all of it. And from that, you then start to be able to build, better ways, better operating systems, better ways of doing things, better questions to ask. And the answers are always there. All the answers lie within. The answers are already lying there in the content of your life so far. If you dig, which I think was the message of the whole channeling, is like, scratch the surface, go deeper, and you'll find, my husband's an opal miner. So what he does for a living is on the surface, there's very little opal. That's how it was discovered initially. But, if you're going to find beautiful gemstones, you've got to actually put a hole in the ground and go down and just dig through a whole lot of dirt to see where it is. We need to do the same excavation in our lives. The content of our lives, start excavating it for the gems, for those amazing, insights, pockets of wisdom, questions, things you wished you'd done differently. Will be like, use it to build the success in your future.
I know you help a lot of people with these sorts of questions. So like when you have your clients and they're going through a big thing like this, is this one of the things that you get them to do?
It is, and it's one of the things I do with them, because one of the things I'm good at is asking very challenging, probing, great questions. And that's not a skill that everybody's mastered. And to be honest, it's something I get other people to do for me, because it's sometimes difficult to ask the great questions for yourself. But I do know that one of the things that I do, I mean, I encourage, my clients to read certain books or things that I think they'll find interesting. I actually at the moment reading a book right now, and every single morning I go back to that book because it's got great questions in it, and I just go through those questions. I just bought the book once. I really liked the questions. I liked the kind of thinking that it elicited from me, and so I just used that and become my own coach in a way by using the work that someone else has so generously shared through that medium.
So there's answers everywhere, whether you've got the money to pay for a coach and you're ready for that level of support, or whether it's go out and get something as simple as a book. But the message here is to ask those good questions.
And when I think we have this, we read a book and we're like, oh yeah, read the book, tick. But if there's something in the book that strikes you, it's like, do it. Don't just read it. Actually do the work. There's been 2 or 3 books in my life that are just so dog-eared and, or that I'd listened to on Audible that I just had to buy them so I could have them, so I could go mining and excavating and use those great questions or those thought prompters for my own journaling or for my own healing practice. And it's so affordable. It's so affordable to be able to do that and benefit for years from one tool, one resource, or one question even. One of the greatest questions that I absolutely love, which is Dr. Dane Heer's work. I don't know that I ever get his name right. Sorry. He wrote a book called Being You and Changing the World. He's done many of these brilliant pieces of other work as well. But one of the questions that he asked, it was one of those questions that just changed the game for me in my life. Like literally in the moment that I read it, it was like the light bulb. And it was, what would it take? There's 2 actually. It's what would it take? And what is working here that I'm not seeing? And I share those questions weekly with clients. I use them daily for myself. They're just such simple reframes and they change your perspective. And like sometimes that's all we need is just a shift in perspective to look 5 degrees differently to the way that we were, and the whole world shifts.
So if somebody was to not just listen to this podcast, but actually go away and do the thing, what would be, what are you going to leave them with, the things for the action plan for them to go away and actually do from this?
I would take that last question that I just planted, what's working here that I'm not seeing, and I would get a pen and a piece of paper and I would make some notes, put that question at the top of it, and I would just put a 5 minutes on a timer. Doesn't take very long. Put your phone on, get a 5-minute timer on, put the question on top of a piece of paper, write what comes through, and just see and use it as a tool to excavate for a deeper understanding of what's going on here. And I reckon most people, if they do that in their lives, right now on something that's perhaps triggering them or causing them some challenges, to see what's working there instead of just focusing on what's not working, which is where our brain naturally goes. It's a survival mechanism. Their whole world could change with one 5-minute exercise.
So if somebody goes and does this, and there will be lots of people doing this exercise, I'm sure now, is there somewhere they can reach out and share their results with you?
For sure. So we've got the Bowerbirds platform, which is free to join. So community.bowerbirds.com. If you join that and then just go into the activity feed, it's like Facebook, but it's a private one just for us and our community. They could share it on the activity feed and tag @RebelBlack, and I will be able to see it as well. We've also got a Facebook group, can never remember the name of it, something about purpose. Get clear on your life's purpose and prosper through community, something like that. Very long.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, love to hear from you for what perspective shift you got in that process. That would be amazing.
So tell us the Bowerbirds link again, just for people to write down.
community.bowerbirds.com.
Beautiful. And we'll put that link in the description below for people to just click on and go through. And thank you again, Rebel, for another amazing, insightful conversation with your body and then you afterwards.
So good. Thank you, Kel. It's so much fun, and hopefully it's helpful to people as they navigate their lives and do what they do.
Yes. Well, if you have anything that you would love to share, you can go into Rebel's community Bowerbirds and share that in the activity feed. The link will be below, and we'll look forward to sharing more wisdom from Rebel's body on the next podcast.
Stay tuned.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. The conversation you've just heard is the follow-up to Rebel's channeling. After I've brought her out of trance, we then discussed the topics that she channeled. The channeling itself is exclusively available to her members of Wild Women. If you loved today's episode and you wanted to get yourself some more of Rebel and her amazing content, go to the links in the description below, either to her blog or find out about joining Wild Women. That is Wild spelt WHYLD, because we're here to find our why in life, and this work is so juicy and important when it comes to that. So I really encourage you to check her out and join Wild Women if you have loved today and want to do more of this self-exploration in a beautiful, safe space with Rebel Black.